Over the last couple of years, Argentina has suffered. Now, in what senses have they actually suffered? Argentina is an economic powerhouse, or at least they were. From rich in football, from rich in diversity, from Lionel Messi to winning the World Cup, Argentina is known for many things. But how are they economically, and are they developing at a rate which is sustainable? In today's documentary, we will give you the answers to all of these questions. And under a specific lens, the rule of President Milei. Take these people, for example. Do you think he, she, or her, do you think any of them know about the things going on in Argentina? I don't think so. And this is the purpose of today's documentary. So follow me as we further dive in to the economic disparities of Argentina under the rule of Milei. What has he been doing for the people? Has poverty gone down? Has poverty gone up? And are people happy under his rule? These are all questions that will be answered. So, I have a quick question for you. What do you think about Argentina's current economic state?
I have no clue.
Exactly, and this proves my point. And this is why in today's documentary, we will inform both you and everyone watching about Argentina. So, will you join me? So, Argentina's challenges are deeply rooted in its history. For over a century, it has oscillated between economic boom and bust, its prosperity often undermined by corruption, mismanagement, and external pressures. By 2023, the country was at a breaking point, inflation exceeding 100% and poverty affected 40% of the population. The Argentine peso has become one of the world's most devaluated currencies. Citizens were desperate for change, paving the way for Milei's rise. Global economic concepts like legitimacy and sovereignty underpin his appeal. Milei's rhetoric tapped into public frustration, positioning him as a savior against the political caste, a term he used to describe the corrupt elites. But his vision also raised questions. How far can economic freedom go without compromising social cohesion? So it's important for us to analyze Argentina before Milei and a nation in decline, and why it is that the Argentinian citizens chose Milei as a representative. So before Milei, Argentina was a textbook example of the dependency theory in action. Reliant on foreign debt and the export of primary commodities, the country faced constant pressure from international creditors like the IMF. A little economist interview. So Argentina's debt to GDP ratio has become unsustainable in the last couple of years. The austerity measures imposed by the IMF not only deepened inequality, which cut vital services like healthcare and education to many, but it also made the poverty levels rise. The social contact between the government and its people was breaking down, and at a fast and alarming rate. Public trust eroded as corruption scandals dominated headlines, and basic necessities like food and fuel became increasingly unaffordable to large populations. Argentina's economic troubles also highlighted the imbalance of the global power structures, which were presented in the region of Argentina. While developed nations benefit from favorable trade terms, countries like Argentina often bear the brunt and external shocks of fluctuating global markets. So now, before we move on to our next section about Javier Milei's vision, please follow me into the next step of our journey. What time is it?
Time for a change.
Javier Milei's rise to power was no accident. His unconventional style and rejection of traditional policies resonated with the nation's yearning for disruption. But what exactly did Milei promise his citizens? At the heart of Milei's vision was dollarization, replacing the peso with the US dollar to combat inflation. This policy, rooted in the modernization theory, sought to impose monetary discipline by outscoring control to an external standard. So, another interview which we performed through an economist. In addition to dollarization, Milei slashed public spending, privatized state-owned companies, and were removed by trade barriers. This neoliberal policies aimed to create a freer market, but critics warned that they would exacerbate inequality within the region. So, now moving on to a perspective of a social reformer, as reducing public spendings disproportionately impacts the most vulnerable. Education, healthcare, and social services are not luxuries, they are necessities for sustainable development and the happiness of its citizens. So, what about Argentina after Milei? And what are the mixed outcomes that came from this?
The social impact of Milei's policies are undeniable. While some celebrated the end of hyperinflation, the others struggled with the reduce on healthcare and education. This reform also shaped Argentina's international relationships. Closer tie with the US and China boosted trade but raised questions about Argentina's retreat from regional alliances, which is a key aspect of regionalism in Latin America. 1 year into Milei's presidency, the results were mixed. Hyperinflation has stopped. However, on the other side, the lack of job opportunities in the public sector also start increasing. Milei's presidency has become an opportunity for debate. One side, his supporters believe that he has been the one who dared to break the status quo. However, critics also criticize him for prioritizing profits over people. Argentina's economy was on the verge of collapse. Years of government's overspending, unsustainable subsidies, and runaway inflation made radical reforms the only possible way forward. Milei had the courage to implement policies that others were too afraid to do it. Cutting public spending, deregulating markets, and opening up its economy to investment, these aren't easy moves, but they're necessary to break free from the cycle of crisis. In short term, yes, there's pain, but in the long term, Argentina needs a stable, investor-friendly economy if it ever wants to achieve real prosperity. This policy has come at a devastating cost though. Cutting subsidies, privatizing essential services, and reducing the role of the state may look good on paper, but they ignore the human impact. Millions of Argentinians rely on public services for healthcare, education, and basic necessities. Slashing this program in the name of economic freedom only widens the gap between the rich and the poor. Market-driven solutions alone won't fix Argentina's problems. We need policies that imbalance economic reforms with social protection so that recovery benefits everyone, not just the wealthy. As Milei's reform take place, Argentinians find themselves in a crossroad. Was the painful reset worth it, or was it simply an act that leaves millions behind? Milei's presidency teaches important lessons, not only to Argentinians, but to the developing world. However, it also showed the danger of neglecting people's needs in order to achieve economic development. Cutting spending and privatizing services can drive growth, but without social support, inequality grows and unrest follows. Milei's time in office is both an example and a warning that the true progress needs both economic reform and care for the most vulnerable. Argentina's experience underscored the need in a balanced approach, combining economic reforms with investment in healthcare, education, and infrastructure to ensure sustainable development.
Javier Milei's presidency represents a bold experiment in governance. His radical ideas have reshaped Argentina's economy and society, sparking debates beyond its borders. Can economic freedom coexist with social equity? Can bold reforms rebuild trust in governance? As Argentina's story unfolds, one thing is clear. The road ahead will be shaped by its people, their resilience, and their unyielding hope for a better future.